Hey everybody, what's going on? TK here for tkanddrinks. We got another What's the Story interview coming at you today. I'm going to be interviewing Brandon from Mr. B's Meadery. They're out of Seattle, Washington. Unfortunately, I did not get to meet Brandon when I was up in Seattle on my Meadery road trip a few weeks ago. But I did stop by his place, checked it out, let him talk about that a little bit more. But it was really awesome. Got to have a flight while I was there. Had some really amazing flavors. And picked up a bottle of the Mr. B's collaboration with Blackbird, which I'm still yet to quite figure out what Blackbird is. I'll let him talk more about that. But it's called the Birds and the Bees. It's rose petal mead made with raspberry blossom honey, and it's had a little, couple little bits of it there. I'll let you know about that too going on. So we are going to be getting into a mead review with that. So be on the lookout for the mead review following the interview series. So this interview should drop on a Sunday, and then this following Tuesday you should get that mead review on tkanddrinks on my YouTube channel right here on the mead review, honest mead review channel, whatever I'm going for these days. So Brandon should be joining us any moment now. It is 6:30. So let's pull up Mr. B's Meadery real quick here on the Facebook while we're waiting for Brandon to show up. My guess is he's got to be updating his client there probably. Nice, got a nice write-up here in the Emerald Palette out of Seattle about being one of the best wineries in Seattle, which is cool because anytime we get some cool recognition like that for a meadery, anybody in our community is always a good thing. So definitely digging that. The writer says, I never thought I liked mead because I always thought it was too sweet, but then I tried Mr. B's. They source super local honey and make small batches of unfiltered mead with no added sulfates. They make a lot of really interesting flavors and label them label the menu from dry to sweet so you can find a mead that matches your palate. You get the taste of the rainbow, which I've had. The flight, you get the equivalent of 2.5 pints across the spectrum so you can find your favorite style. Yeah, it's like 15 different flavors. It's amazing. And they suggest trying the Dragon's Breath, which I did try that one. It was amazing. It's ginger, cardamom, cinnamon, ghost pepper, cardamom, and ginger. Not nearly as spicy as you would imagine. It's definitely got a little bit of kick to it, but man, that one is definitely one to try. I like the strawberry one made with Spooner Farm strawberries from Puyallup, Washington. Had this wonderful summer juicy strawberry taste to it. A full body without being like cloying or even like sticky. Just felt like you just natural strawberry juice just as you're chewing through it. It's so good. I highly suggest you pick up one of those if you ever get a chance to stop by Mr. B's or order online from them. Definitely pick up a Spooner strawberry. Looks like Brandon's joining us. Let me go ahead and get to that. Get over here to the mouse. So let's welcome in Brandon. I believe it's Eller. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct.
Brandon Eller from Mr. B's there in Seattle, Washington. Thank you for coming on today, Mr. Brandon.
Thanks for having me.
So I got to visit your meadery when I was up there a few weeks ago, and unfortunately you were out of town on a really cool camping trip. But I have to say, I really dig the layout of your place. I really dig the whole, just the vibe, how the tanks are right there when you walk in. You got all the seating is outside, so you're out there getting to experience the Seattle vibe and everything. It's a very cool, unique spot you got there, man.
Right on. Yeah, I just try to make the most of the tiny little space. Yeah, I mean, you can see everything's pretty packed in here. I mean,
Exactly. Yes.
I tiptoe around just to get from one side to the other. But yeah.
Exactly, but you make it work and everything like that, and you're certainly a well-known meadery in the Seattle area, so people must love it up there as well. How long have you been commercially open now?
In August will be 2 years.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right on, 2 years. What was your what would you say was your biggest difficulty getting prepared to open commercially?
Well, it takes you have to kind of prepare for a year of licensing. It takes you have to pretty much rent a space before you can apply for the license. And so that's the biggest hurdle is just, forking out rent money for a year or up to a year uh, just before you can even start making it. And then you have to make it and then you can sell it. So,
Right.
just having some kind of, I kept my day job and just lived really tight as I could just to make it happen. So
Do you still have your regular 9 to 5, so to speak?
I technically quit, but they still got me working like one day a week. I work for a mobile canning company here called Craft, and we can all the local beer and cider, or not all of it, but like a majority of it. A few of them bought new canning lines, and we've taught them how to use them and stuff like that. But if you've had a beer in the Northwest or from the Northwest, there's a good chance that I helped can it. So.
Well, even for some of the bigger guys, or just like some of the smaller places.
Pretty much everybody, but like around here would be everybody but Georgetown and Elysian. And I mean, like I think they might have done Georgetown a little bit for a while before I joined them. Black Raven recently got their own canning line, so we even stopped bottling for them recently. So, but we did them for like I guess 8 years since
Wow.
they started. And so yeah, I mean, pretty much anybody except for like the top two or three producers.
That's pretty cool. So you get to see a lot of what's going on behind the scenes prior to I mean, even more than just like following their social media accounts and stuff. You know how many cases are coming out, how big the batches are. That's a pretty cool concept and pretty unique job.
Yeah, definitely. I've only been doing it for years, so it's right when the pandemic started. So all these places started coming on. They were new at that time because a lot of breweries said they would never can their beer, and then the pandemic came and they couldn't put their beer in kegs for bars, so they had to can it so the customers could actually have access to it. So
Sure.
now all these places are canning that would never can before, and so yeah, and then see, I'm meeting like all these head brewers and brewery owners, and just yeah, it's a whole different side of the networking that I've ever experienced. Yeah.
That's very cool. And you said you're working with some cider places too?
Yeah, we can for cider. We can wine. We've canned CBD sodas and ginger beer. We've bottled wine and other things too, but they mostly do canning. They're actually based out of Portland, where they're the biggest, and then they also do it in Denver as well. But yeah, it's
And
they are a main support for the beer industry. Yeah.
so you're mobile, so you show up in like a 30-foot box truck and have all the equipment inside, and then they like bring the kegs out and you can it from the kegs or something, or
Oh yeah, we hook up so yeah, we put all of our machines onto a 30-foot truck or so, and bring it to the brewery, set it all up, clean it, hook it up to their bright tank or their fermenting tank or whatever they want to pump it out of, and run it through the line, and yeah, we CO2 or rinse out the cans. It fills up the cans with CO2. It fills up the cans with liquid. It brushes it off with CO2, puts a lid on it, sends it through a seamer. The seamer puts it onto a labeler. The labeler labels it and then sends it off to the pack off team, and then the pack off team gets it ready to put in a cooler or take wherever they're going to take it. And yeah, we'll do anywhere between 200 or less sometimes to up like 1,000 cases a day. And yeah, sometimes we'll go to a place and we'll run there for like 2-3 days in a row. So yeah.
that's freaking very cool, man. Well, glad you at least get to still do that and still make those networking connections and everything while brewing up some delicious meads. Are you gonna can any of your own stuff?
I do can my own stuff. It was here when you were visiting. I've been doing it for about half a year now, I guess. But what I do is I just bring in some kegs after hours, and they let me, hook it up to the machine, and I just run it through the steamer. So I have a beer gun, and I'll just fill up a can, run it through the steamer, because I know the steamers are top notch, and because we check them every day, multiple times a day during the run to make sure they're in spec. And so like I just run it through that, and then I just label it on my own. So yeah.
That's funny that you said in spec. Are there specifically specifications for like how much rollover the rim is supposed to, or the lid is supposed to have, and stuff like that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we do this. super teeny tiny measurements on a what they call like a micrometer. I think it might be a technical term for the little tool that we use, but we just measure the depth of the can. There's like 4 different measurements. So you measure like different points on the can, and you measure the height and the width on different points, and then we cut off the top, and we measure it again, and that way we know like how much it's like going over and stuff like that. There's a lot more to it than I've learned. I've just been kind of like a grunt, like helper out pretty much person for the last year, but yeah, it's I mean, and then we can do things like a test where you step on it, where you'll throw it in like hot water, take it out, jump on it, and see where it breaks at, and then you know where like if it didn't break at the seam, then you definitely know it's holding. So like we have really high specs and like for everything, for sanitization, for how well the can seals and all that. And like for sanitization, like we go half of what even like a hospital would allow. So our stuff is like extremely sanitized. So.
That's again, somebody's taking a real care and compassion and putting that into their products. That's one of the things I love about the meat industry, and talking to meat makers who are passionate about that, is getting to share in that. That's friggin' awesome, man. So you said you've been around for about 2 years now, commercially, and how long were you home brewing before that?
Yeah, well, I've been 10.5 years now home brewing, or started when I home brewing. It was February of 2011 when I made my very first batch. So, yeah, for quite a while, I guess. And I made 85-gallon batches before I applied for my license. So.
Sorry, I got a cat here that's trying to attack me.
No worries. I made 85-gallon batches over the course of about 8 years before I opened up before I applied for my license.
85-gallon batches. That's pretty freaking cool. Yeah. What was your favorite that you've made in all that time, or even now commercially?
Oh man, yeah, it definitely changes all the time. Because I'm always making something that I impress myself again with over and over again, kind of thing. And I'm always trying new recipes. That's why I have so many flavors. It's just a constant rotation of experiments. But I don't know, man. Like I've just done some really good like apple ones early on when I was home brewing. But since I've been commercial ones, I really like the star chai. It's like my version of a chai without ginger. Even though when I've changed it and I added ginger, but yeah, put things in bourbon barrels and making at home, like adding bourbon to my mead, stuff like that. But otherwise, this new Spooner strawberry, it was just that I did last year, was just amazing. I mean, the strawberry flavor is so natural and intense for I mean, a beverage. I've just never experienced anything like that before. So.
I had that one when I was up there. It was amazing. It's like walking into a strawberry patch. Anybody who's ever like gone out and picked strawberries either out of your yard or from the berry farm or something like that, you did right off the vine, this natural, just juicy strawberry. I was highly impressed with that one, man. I really like it. I've had some other strawberry ones that come back super candy-like, almost like those strawberry candies that you get at Halloween time or whatever. And I mean, they were good. I mean, it's not like it was a bad mead, but that Spooner strawberry had just a refreshing, crisp, natural strawberry taste in it. I was a big fan of that.
Right on. Yeah, that's what got me. That just that natural flavor. Yeah, because you can't buy strawberry juice. If you do get strawberry something, yeah, like you said, kind of candy flavored. So.
Right.
But anyway, yeah. Strawberry.
So what would be your biggest failure as a mead that you say? Was there anything that came out like totally jet fuel, or is there something that came out like just sideways and you had to sit on it a while to figure out something to do with it?
Yeah, I've had a few more recently than ever, just because I've been trying to push things a little faster and trying to see what my limits are, kind of thing. Just and peach is. I was just actually talking online in a Facebook group about this. Like peach has always been the hardest one for me to do for some reason, and it was. I think at first it was because I left the skins on. I chop up a lot of my fruit and put it in fresh and whole and everything, or not fresh. Well, I'll freeze it sometimes too, anyway. But and so leaving the skins on, I felt like gave it a bad bitterness or something, and guessing wise. And then next time I did it, I took all the skins and all that and chopped it up and froze it and put it in, and it was amazing. And then I did it again, and I think I left them in there a little too long, so like I got another like off flavor from like just the whole fruit being in the batch a little too long. So it's just that's been my most temperamental one for flavor wise, but for like actual like fermentation process, up until recently, I mean I've only done it a couple times, but actually tropical fruits or pineapple in particular, just because it's so foamy. And I never used firm cap, and I know what it is, but I just avoided it for some reason. And definitely a lifesaver now, firm cap all the way. But yeah, I did a cherry pineapple, and the cherries got clogged in the airlock and just blew up in here and just everywhere. I had to clean up every single wall and crevice and nook and cranny.
Oh.
And yeah, so those are the ones that come to mind. So.
Yeah, I've only had one bottle paint my ceiling one time, and I can only imagine on the gallon scale what that would look like. I mean, holy crap. And then I've also heard that honey is ridiculously difficult to clean up too whenever that spills. If you get a nice couple gallon spill of honey, that becomes quite the task to clean up.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. And I learned that so early on. Oh my gosh. Yeah, honey is messy. Yeah.
Oh man. So you were out camping when I was up there. Where were you out camping at?
Up near Diablo Lake. It's like North Cascade Highway.
Got you. Did you take any mead with you out there when you were out hiking and camping?
Oh yeah, yeah. I actually took my bourbon barrel aged apple pie mead.
Ooh, that I believe that one. I think it's called the Taste the Rainbow flight. It was like 15 different meads, and I believe there was.
Oh, 20 plus. I always say 20 plus. I always, yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, I couldn't even account. It just seemed like there was board after board after board kept coming, and man, I believe there was a barrel aged apple pie one in there, and it, like I said, everything was phenomenal. I think the one that stands out the most was the dragon breath, like cardamom, ghost peppers, and was it cardamom, ghost peppers, and something else.
Yeah, yeah. It's ginger, cardamom, lemon and lime, and then I put ghost pepper flakes in the bottle for the heat. Just a couple. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that one. That one was really good. I was expecting, people hear the term, especially I hear the term ghost pepper, and I instantly think it's going to be this, sock in the face. But it wasn't. It was nice, and it wasn't overpowering. It didn't give it a funky, like metallic-y type taste or anything like that. So, kudos to you on that one as well, my man.
Right on. Thank you.
So before I get too much farther into this, one of the things I did do while I was there, beyond having the delicious rainbow flight going on, is I scooped up a bottle of, I believe the name of it is the Birds and the Bees, correct?
Yeah, correct.
So I picked up a Birds and the Bees bottle, which is a collab with Blackbird. Yes, there we go. Now, I cannot for the life of me figure out who Blackbird is. Are they another meadery? Are they another, I think you said they make incense?
So, yeah, so they are my neighbors here, and they actually they're on both sides of me now. When the dance studio moved out, they took over there too. But so they do like incense, and they're starting to do candles, and they do just a lot of aroma stuff, perfume and stuff like that. I think they're like, we want you to make a rose mead. We want to collaborate. We want you to make a rose mead. And I'm like, yeah, of course. I love making anything. So, and and they're like, yeah, we're like they homebrew and stuff. So like we make a rose cardamom beer or something like that, or a cider. I think they made a rose cardamom cider. But we want you to make a rose mead. I'm like, well, you want the cardamom? And they're like, no, just rose. I'm like, all right. So I make the rose, and then I put a little to the side, and I add some cardamom because I want to do rose cardamom like they did. Plus, Hierophant does a rose cardamom, and so I'm always trying what other people try because, why not? So, and then it turned out pretty good. I've never done rose before, and I mean, asking what kind of honey you want to use, and they're like color coordinate, raspberry, red with roses, red with honey, raspberry honey. So it was rose petals and raspberry honey, and then it ended up sweet. They wanted it to be sweet, and then I also did a small variation also to the side where I added extra rose to it, extra like a lot of extra rose, and then we made that for the sparkling mead on tap. And then what I do with that is I just temper it down with water and then force carbonate it, and so I get a sparkling rose mead on tap as well. And then yeah, that's where that came from.
I love the smell on it. So rose is one of my personal one of the flavor profiles I don't usually draw myself to. I've had some bad experiences with rose flavored products in the past, so I kind of just lean away from it. But I saw that bottle, the unique bottle, the unique label, everything. I said, somebody who's putting that much time and effort and energy into a rose mead isn't going to release something that's funky. And I'll tell you what, man, that it has this very, again, natural rose aroma. It doesn't smell like perfume. It doesn't come across artificial or anything. It reminds me of like walking through my grandma's rose garden. She had roses all over her property. It takes me back to a time and a place, brother. That's freaking phenomenal. I love it.
Yeah.
So, ooh, man, got some wild legs on it. Nice, full. I don't know if you can see those or not. It's probably crappy lighting, but man, I like that too. So, my bottle in transit back down here to Arizona from Washington got quasi-compromised. So I'm not exactly sure if this is the actual full real taste that I'm supposed to be getting. It was a little hot when I first opened it, but I had it in the cooler per your instructions for quite a while, and a lot of that has gone away. So I'm not sure if the tiny bit of heat I'm getting is is natural, supposed to be there, or if it's, my own carelessness. But other than that tiny bit of heat I'm getting in there, dude, this thing is delicious. Like you said, it's got a nice sweetness to it. The rose comes through. Not cloying. And it doesn't, again, taste like perfume. It doesn't taste like pulpery. That's another thing with flower and floral leaning meads. Always reminds me, my mom had pulpery going all the time in her house. And it's just tasted and smells so funky and artificial. So how is it that you incorporated those rose petals in there to get that natural flavor?
So they actually got me the roses as well. They brought me a bag of dried rosebuds. Okay. And what I did is I threw in the roses at different stages because I didn't know how much to put in because it was the first time I ever done it. And so I started off with a bit of them in there. I needed more, could put some more in. I think at that point I was maybe about halfway through fermentation. So I actually racked it off, which I wouldn't normally do in the middle of fermentation. But and then I added some more roses. I think actually I racked it off into 3 different carboys. Oh. And then I added roses to each one, and as I was just kind of experimenting with different ones, so I have 3 batches of the rose that are all slightly different, but they're all pretty close. I'm selling it all one. But and so I just kind of was just guessing as I was putting it in the rose, trying to make not too much. And then I also actually put in just the tiniest little bit of rose water too, just to kind of help balance it out. So like I'll do that as well with like with other things, like with vanilla. Like I'll use vanilla beans, but I also will use a little bit of vanilla extract sometimes just to help kind of build the overall I don't know what the correct term would be, just a more body, more fuller taste, a more fuller aroma.
I gotcha. That's very cool. And then the raspberry blossom, or is it raspberry blossom honey or raspberry honey? I'm not quite sure what the difference would be.
Yeah, you can just say raspberry honey, I would assume, but raspberry blossom is what they'll tell you at the honey farm, pretty much. So.
Okay, gotcha. So yeah, I can't tell if I'm picking up some subtle nuances in there because it does kind of have this tart, almost raspberry type of profile to it there in the finish. Was that intentional there as well?
Not necessarily intentional. I mean, honestly, I haven't done enough traditionals, oddly, to know really what the specifics are between just fermenting certain honeys. I've always just mixed like raspberries with raspberry honey, blueberry with blueberry honey, and such when I can. And then when I can't, I'll go for like wildflower or maybe fireweed or clover, rarely. But and so honestly, that's something I've been meaning to do recently too, do more traditionals because the ones I have people like a lot, and not only to learn but also to give people what they want, and yeah, learn more really about what the specific honeys do flavor wise come out as because yeah, because maybe there is a tartness in the raspberry, but I don't feel like I'm the best qualified person to answer that. So
Gotcha.
yeah, as much as long as I've been making mead, I'm still learning so much. It's amazing. I asked the other local meadery owners stuff here and there, and I've learned quite a bit just in the last 2 years. So.
It seems like Seattle, the greater Seattle area, has some pretty solid mead makers and a pretty solid community. Everybody seems to be very friendly and um, willing to help each other out and just develop that community as a whole, which I think again is really cool.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people might think, we're a competition. I was worried and wondered if, we were maybe at first too and such, but really when, I mean, at such a young community, like a type of beverage that's just on the market, like you can't really be that much of a competition in a way, just because most people don't even know what mead is. So the more awareness we can bring to it, whether by having more mead makers, more meaderies, and having better mead out there too, uh, just helps us all. So there's no reason why not to give information freely and help each other. I mean, we all do to a pretty good extent, I feel like. And it doesn't, whether it's mead making or getting licensed or any of that, we just help each other out. We have our private Facebook groups that we all communicate through and stuff like that. Or anytime someone has a question or whatever. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's great to have that connection with the other mead makers.
Yeah, nothing. I mean, at the end of the day, nothing that mead makers do is proprietary. It's all been around for thousands of years. So to try to shut people out seems kind of it seems kind of like archaic almost. But yeah, it's cool to see that all the communities around, not just in the Northwest, but all around the country that come together and support each other. It's really awesome. Uh, do you do any food pairings or have any food trucks that show up at your meadery?
I don't. That's one thing. Yeah, people actually ask quite often, but I've never done any food pairing personally. I definitely don't get any food trucks in this area. It's kind of a no go for that. But I'm moving to Fremont for my new tasting room. I'll still have Soto here, of course, for like weekdays. But
Yeah.
Fremont is so full of restaurants and stuff like that. I got restaurants on both sides of me and bars, like all that. So
Gotcha.
definitely won't need it there. But yeah, here in Soto, you can bring your own food. Let people do that.
That's always nice. Well, when do you plan on having the Fremont shop open up?
Oh man, I just actually had my liquor inspection this morning, and so that's approved. So pretty much whenever they send me the license, and it can be by email, it could be this week, could be tomorrow, but it could take up to 2 weeks, I guess. But my liquor control agent specialist is pretty quick with stuff, so I don't see why she couldn't get it to me in a couple days if I'm lucky. But so anyway, very soon is the best answer I can give you.
Got you. And you said, but like you said, you've already got the spot going. You've already got all your equipment. Everything's already set up there.
It's pretty simple setup. It's only 200 square feet, and it's just a little tasting room bar that I can sell bottles and give you samples and drinks from, and I'll serve a couple beers, couple local beers as well in cans. But yeah, it's just gonna be a place to have access to and hang out. It's really cool though. It's pretty whimsical, like magical little speakeasy alleyway, and it's like underneath in the basement, and we've painted it pretty well on there with murals and stuff like that. And the bathroom's like a jungle, got ferns everywhere and twinkly lights, and it's all green lighting. And so yeah, we've done pretty good for a very low budget, and just took our time and yeah, made it happen.
So you had mentioned that you haven't made a whole lot of traditionals. You do plan on making a few more? Is there a favorite type of single variety that you would like to use as in one of your traditionals?
So okay, yeah. So the story for traditional, sorry. I never made a traditional mead till I got licensed, and that's only because people kept coming in asking for traditional. Like, I don't make traditional mead, and I don't make plain old mead, and it ain't plain. I mean, traditional mead can be complex, but so anyway, I was like, fine, I'll make some. So I made a couple wild ones. I made like a wildflower honey one and a blackberry, and the wildflower was okay, called flower child, and the blackberry was blackberry blossom. I call it. People love that one the most. And then I did a fireweed blossom one as well, but it didn't turn out as great. I kind of messed up on it, so I didn't release it actually. And but now I have another one that's finishing up right now. It's actually a Hawaiian tropical blossom honey, and it kind of tastes like coffee to me in a way. And so that'll be released. But I honestly plan on kind of just going through all the berries and trying them all, or all not all the berries, but all the blossom, all the different honeys, and I'm just gonna keep releasing. Like, I'm probably gonna do a macadamia nut honey one here next, and then a raspberry honey, and then a blueberry honey.
Right.
I'll do fireweed again. Eventually, I do like meadow foam, probably as well. Uh, Fermenting wise, I really love using fireweed and meadow foam. But when I go to the berries, blackberry, sometimes I like using more than those. Like, I've used blackberry for just about every recipe I've ever done before I got licensed, and it was like a good solid base for like any mead. I felt like, or not any, but most of them. So
Blackberry blossom honey is a base. That sounds amazing. Blackberry. I'm from the Seattle area, down in Puyallup, Sumner area, and man, blackberries. I remember going out and picking them at friends' house and having them in the yard and stuff like that. So, good blackberry blossom honey, man. That sounds phenomenal to me. I could definitely be on board with some of that. So, have you been to any meaderies outside of the Northwest or outside of the Seattle area?
um, honestly, I haven't. I was down in California. Yeah. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, I have. I My mom was in San Francisco, so I went and visited her a few years back, and went and tried a couple down there, which I can't even remember the name of right now. And I remember them. I feel like I remember them being okay. And but otherwise, I'd never been really to any meaderies other than a couple here locally, and that was only in the past couple years. And um, when I started making mead, I tried commercial mead off the shelf, and I didn't like any of it. The Viking's Blood was okay, of course, everybody loves that one, but I've had it and it's been great, and then I've had it and it's not been good at all. So it's been inconsistent for me. You know, that can be a lot of factors, shipping or just who knows. But so that's kind of one reason why I started making mead, because I couldn't find it. And then and I always, when I find something, I just like to know how to do it anyway. But
Nice.
yeah, no, really the first kind of meaderies I ever visited were just locally, and it was Opagard and Acer up in Everett. Yeah, Opagard took well to Acer and Everett, and then Sky River, of course, they've second oldest meadery in the country. They've been here for 30 years. They have good mead, and but it wasn't my style. It was better than the stuff I was finding on the shelf. So, but I just like intense flavor, and I like a little sweeter. I feel like these things are either way too dry or way too sweet, and so I like it right there in the middle, and that's what I go for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when you were home brewing or learning to homebrew, did you just trial and error? You said it was 2011. Was there a whole lot of internet presence at that point, or were you pretty much just shooting in the dark, so to speak?
I mean, there was stuff on the internet. Gotmead.com is what I used for reference mostly, I believe. Google searched something probably, if I remember right, and to see what popped up. And there might have been maybe some Reddit post here or there or something like that. But yeah, I got some basic ideas from that, and I talked to the home brew supply guy at first when I got my stuff, and he gave me like a base idea for how to make it. But honestly, most of it was just shoot from the hip, all learn on my own, trial and error, and yeah, I mean, you're just kind of guessing in the dark for a little bit there. I mean, I didn't even use hydrometer for like probably your first 5-10 batches, I think, but which is seems like a common thing, but yeah, I think that's kind of how I do a lot of stuff, though. I mean, if you learn about the rest of my life, like I always kind of just jump in feet first and go for it. So
Figure
yeah,
it out from there.
yeah. What was that?
And just jump in feet first and figure it out from there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I do 60 style liquid light shows, and I never practiced. The only time I ever did it was just live at shows. So until after I did it for like 3 years, and then I did once in a while outside of live. But yeah, go for it. Fuck it.
Yeah, so I've heard you're involved in a couple other things. I know you're a member in a band and you do these liquid light shows. So what is a liquid light show, might I ask?
Yeah, I guess that's also an uncommon thing that most people have never seen or never heard of. So 60 style liquid light shows. If you remember like the analog overhead projectors you had in elementary school.
Uh, yeah, the teacher would write on them with the vis-a-vis pens and has a, yeah.
So I use those, but what I do is I find super high, like high output ones that I want to have like high lumens,
Okay.
and I use those, and then a dark room works best, and then I use clock glass, layers of it, isopropyl alcohol, mineral oil, candle dye, and watercolors, and I'm mixing colors into these different mediums and that stay separated and on different layers, and I'm controlling what they do by squishing them or spinning them or whatever I can do with you can blow on them with straws or fans and lots of other things that I haven't even tried yet, but
Wow.
yeah, so it's all live art. It's live art. It's inspired from the '60s, and that's when I think most people started learning how to do it and created it. But and I'll just set up at a show, usually some friends' bands, or maybe once in a while someone will hire me, and then just do a light show for them. And yeah, and it's an amazing experience. It's not like anything else. It totally can bring you into the right kind of music and just create a whole different world. I mean, it's the vibe that you get I mean, it's just amazing. Most of the time, people don't even realize I'm doing it live. They'll see the whole show, and they'll come back to see me in the back, and they'll be like, "Holy shit, someone was doing this the whole time," you know?
Right.
Yeah, it's I highly suggest finding someone in the area that does it and go watch one, or just check a couple things out online, and you'll see, and then it's pretty cool.
And were you doing that before you were homebrewing?
No, I've only been doing that for a couple of years. Maybe 5-6 years ago, and it was a kind of a friend of a friend online was giving away his kind of basic equipment, and I went and picked it up like 10 minutes later, and he gave me like a quick 10-minute tutorial on how to do it, and I was like, okay. He just kind of explained it to me. I took it to his show that Friday and was like, hey, you guys want to like show, and set it up, and like, let's go for it. So yeah, I mean, that's how that happened. I mean, and then I've done it for like the remaining Doors members and Carlos Santana. I was on Paul Allen's recording studio doing like a private thing for them, and then did it for like the 50th Doors anniversary. And I've done it for like weddings and giant hangars. I've done it outside for festivals, and for all kinds. And yeah, it just kind of took off as like a little hobby that I almost made into a business, but there just wasn't enough money there. People don't want to pay for that. At least I couldn't get people to pay for it, but people always wanted it. They just didn't have the extra cash for it.
Got you. One of those luxurious indulgences. That sounds really cool, though. I don't know. So other than this person you got the setup from, had you seen it before in like your ventures into like the music underground and stuff?
Just once, and that was from him doing it at an Ancient Warlocks show at the Mix in Georgetown, probably like a year or two before that. Yeah.
Okay.
And so yeah, just that one time. And I mean, when you see it, you'd be like, oh, I've seen that before, maybe in something like a commercial or whatever,
Right.
And then, but you don't realize what it is or how it was created. And then when you see actually how it's done, you're just like, it kind of opens up like, oh, I don't know. It's hard to explain, and it's probably different for everyone. So.
That's freaking wild, man. Well, that's keep doing what you're doing there, because that's freaking radical. If the meadery thing ever fails, you got that to fall back on now. Holy crap. You got some big
Yeah, I do it for fun. Like I said, there really isn't any money in it, at least not from what I was capable of. But I mean, there's some people that definitely do it full time, like the Matt Alchemy down in San Francisco. I mean, he's been doing it for 50 years, but
Oh, wow.
some people, they go way farther than I was ever capable of. Some people are really amazing at it. I mean, it's definitely a skill in its own, and it's hard work too. I mean, you're working physically, loading it, unloading it. You're there doing it the whole time for all the bands every second. You know, you're working 8, 10, 12 hours plus to do a show, and your shoulders are hurting afterwards, and your neck, and
Yeah.
I mean, from even tall, so like if you don't have the right height table and all that, you know, you just bad for your posture, and
Sure.
it's not easy. So it's definitely for the love. Yeah.
No kidding. That's freaking wild, man. I'm gonna have to look that. Do you have any videos of your stuff out there specifically, or?
Yeah, you can look up Liquid Light Wizard. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. Yeah, and then there's yeah, definitely. And I've done collaborations too with like digital artists. So like where they'll do digital stuff, or they'll take like video of what I'm doing and shoot it next to it or above or below, and they'll have like the Rorschach digital thing with like on a screen in the band, and then like up in this like sails in the trees, like I'll be projecting my lights and stuff, and it's like you can see I've done a few things, but yeah.
Gotcha. That's wild, man. I love hearing all the backstories of people's, you know, histories and what they're into and stuff like that. It makes the meadery like that much more personable and everything like that. I got an interview I'm gonna be doing with some cats in Tacoma up there called Cult Meadery. I don't know if you're familiar with them and everything. They got that.
Yeah.
They got a metal venue in their spot. Man, I'm dying to talk to them and pick their brains about that and everything. It's so cool to see people doing things that are outside the normal, just a tasting room and tap room, and that's it. You know, expanding and bringing all this stuff together into the community. It's freaking rad.
Yeah, those guys have been doing it. Yeah, man, like I'm been thoroughly impressed with their motivation and what they've accomplished. Yeah, they had like a smaller tasting room when they first started, but yeah, getting that warehouse and then being able to host live music, man, like yeah, that's I want to do it. I'm jealous. Like,
Yeah,
you know, one day maybe I might be able to do that, but that's definitely a commitment. Like those guys are in it to win it. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, just to have the cojones to pull that trigger on that. Very envious of their situation there. So have you gone to any competitions with any of your meat or anything like that, or you just kind of stay away from the competition side and just do you?
Yeah, I've never done the competition. I've considered it, but I've also just not had the best. I don't know what it seems like on my end. Like, you know, it's just kind of like it's. I mean, I know it's anonymous. Like they shouldn't know what your meat is, but like I don't know. There's something to it that just kind of rubs me in a different direction. I just don't care to do it, I guess. So the more, honestly, I mean, like the more I have been doing the commercial thing of being licensed and legal and all that is, I guess I've been more interested in maybe trying a competition, but I'd rather do something locally where just more local. Like we did like a Mead, like Washington Mead Fest kind of thing up here before, like at Skull, and
Yeah.
just doing something more like that where yeah, like when I want to just, you know, have our local community judge us. Like I just don't care about sending my bottle to some other state just to a bunch of people that I'm never going to meet, and you know, there's just nothing in it for me. It's a medal from strangers. I don't know, just doesn't. It would mean a lot more if it was from the local community. I'm just very into anything local, I guess.
No, that makes perfect sense. I love to hear everybody's different opinion on that. It's not any less or more valid than anybody else's, and you bring on some very specific points. You know, what really does it matter? The people who aren't going to be buying your stuff on a regular basis, what does it matter what any of them think? The people who are supporting you, they're the ones who you're making this stuff for. I mean, you're making it for yourself and you're making it for your customers, but ultimately the whole community is the ones who are going to benefit from it. So I can be on board with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Do you have a bottle library program? Like, do you have some back catalog cases that you're holding on to for future events or anything like that?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, so when I started making mead, I always kept one bottle from every batch, and then sometimes I would turn into two bottles or three bottles, or whatever. But and I would hold on to them for a couple of years to see how they turned out and such. But I think the oldest ones I have now might be from home brewing, from maybe like 5 to 8 years old or something like that. And back then, like that was before I started using synthetic corks. And so, being as small as I am, and as much as I've moved around and had life changes, like my bottles stay upright. Like I can't put stuff on their side. The corks get dried out.
Right.
So I've had some old batches that didn't quite taste right because of the cork drying out, and then I've had some that taste amazing, even if the cork did seem like it dried out.
Gotcha.
So anyway, so there was kind of a break there where I stopped doing it, I think, and then I've I have some that I have one from a lot of them since I've been licensed. Not all of them, but some of my maybe personal favorites. And but then I did take my first batch that I made here, my Beanberry Delight, which is named after my uncle's band from the '70s who did 50 covers rock shows,
Oh,
and they're called the Beanberry Delights, and so it's like a triple berry with vanilla bean, and which I'll probably do with coffee bean next time. It'll be coffee and vanilla beans with beans and berries. But
like it.
yeah, it was a good mead, and I took a case, put it aside, and it's already like 2 years old now that I've been open, or almost 2 years old now that I've been open 2 years, and I'll probably pull it out in a year or two and maybe have a special release, and I probably start doing that with some of my other bigger batches or something like that. So
Do you have a Mead club or a subscription program or any of those different things? Quarterly
I
member?
kind of did. So everybody has a meat club, pretty much. Everybody, I think. I don't know if anybody who doesn't. And I kind of made one, and I didn't advertise it at all. And I had like 5 people sign up, and I just like that's it. I'm not, that's it. You guys can be on the meat club, and that's it. I'm not going to put in the meat club because I mean I already discount my meat. My meat's probably one of the cheapest in the area, except for maybe Hierophant. Hierophant has pretty good prices. So, but I'm in the city of Seattle, and I can't really sell my meat any cheaper than they already do. It's
Sure.
expensive to do this,
Oh yeah.
and so, but I want people to have access to it. I don't want it to be extremely expensive, like I hear a lot of people come in here and complain about. People have had meat from all over the world, and
Oh
you
yeah.
know, a lot of people don't want to spend $40 to $100 on a bottle of meat. So, um,
For,
I mean, I have those bottles. I have expensive ones, but those are like the bourbon barrel or something maybe and I don't know. Yeah, I didn't want to give any more discount than I kind of already am, and then also like there's the thing okay, I can pick out the meads that you get every quarter for your mead club, or I can or you do, and it's just I don't know, it turned into a lot of like it's a lot of work, and I don't have the time for it, and I don't want to email people. I don't send emails out that often, that more than I have to, and
gotcha.
I kind of have bad excuses, I guess, for not doing it. That's probably the most honest answer I can give you is for reasons I shouldn't name. So, but
Hey,
anyway, but so if someone came up to me and was like, hey, like I want to join I want to join your meat club. Even if I and just like they'll do. If someone was asking me about it, like I'll work something out. I'll make it happen for you. If you want to commit to buying my meat every 3 months, yeah, man, I'll make it happen. So
gotcha. That's pretty cool. I mean, that's really cool in the fact that you're willing to customize something. It's just more unique customer service experience that you get from somebody like you. You don't need to start a mead club because people aren't clamoring for it. But if somebody does say that they want something, you're willing to work with them on that aspect. Man, can't ask for something more than that. Back sweetening or fermenting to desired sweetness level. What's your preference?
I almost always never back sweeten. I've done it like 3 times in my entire life, and 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 for different reasons, probably than maybe other people. But so to answer that question in full, I need to explain how I make meat a little bit and
Okay,
how it's so different than other commercial meat makers, I think.
sure.
And so I don't use sorbate to stop my fermentations. I don't try to stop my fermentation at all. I don't add sulfites to preserve it or keep it from re-fermenting, and I don't filter. I don't add any clarifying agents except for pectic enzyme at the beginning, only at the beginning. I never put it in at the end if I feel like I need to. But so I just have a really minimalist approach to making mead. Um, in some ways, it might be just being lazy in some ways because but in other ways, I might be creating actually a lot more work for myself too. It definitely takes me longer to make mead than most other people, I think, or not other people, but just maybe some of the commercial guys. Takes me at least 2 months to like get a batch to clear up on its own. And yeah, I don't back sweeten. I've done it a couple times just because I made a giant batch of black and blueberry. I wanted it to be semi-sweet, but it turned out dry. And so I put some aside and I backed it onto some honey and water just to experiment and let it see what happened. It didn't re-ferment over a course of a month or two, but so I bottled it. And after about 6 months, I started to get a little bit of natural carbonation in the bottle, which a lot of people love. So I didn't have any corks blow out, and yeah, so like it can be good. I just haven't really done it, I guess. So.
To me, it seems like it's certainly a matter of personal preference, but it's also a matter of your let's say your mead design, your building, the way everybody does their process and everything like that. Some people do it, some people don't. I'm just really intrigued at the way that people can pull off their flavor profiles by two completely different approaches. You can get something that's this let's say sweet, but has this like one particular level of sweetness through the two different processes, and it balances out. It just weirds me out, the whole science of it. As somebody who doesn't brew yet, I'm trying to get into a situation where I can make my own batches and everything like that. But man, I'm dying to try all those different types of techniques and see exactly for myself what the results will be.
Yeah. I mean, as you probably already know, you can go to any meadery. I mean, we're all different. It doesn't matter where you go. So yeah, I mean, it's all about what you want it to do and what you can imagine, what your imagination is.
Exactly.
And even then, it'll be different. Still be different than what you try to do. So, but yeah.
And even when you're trying to recreate flavors, it seems like there's so many variables in the process that it's almost you can get it pretty darn close, 80-90% of the way there, but to get it 100% the same every time seems like a pretty big roll of the dice, so to speak.
Yeah, I honestly have never ever recreated a batch. Never, and I don't really expect to. I'm gonna reuse some of these names, of course, but yeah, it's just yeah, I can't recreate a batch. I mean, I probably could if I did stop my fermentations or back sweeten it right to the same sweetness level every time, and then added extra berries in the end and stuff like that, or what have you. But I just don't want to do that. I don't know. I mean, yeah, you can call it laziness or you can call it stubbornness, or I don't know. I just do it the way I like to do it. So.
No, I like that. I like the subtle nuanced differences between the B1 and the B2 and the B3, so to speak. It adds to the, I don't know if it sounds kind of corny or whatever, but it adds to the artiness of it, the uniqueness of it. It's what I guess kind of separates it from other things. I mean, wine does the same thing where you can get the different, it's like a taste and a time and a place type of thing, like a time capsule in a bottle. I think mead does the same thing, and I like that. You don't have that expectation where you're trying to be, again, my term, not yours, be like the McDonald's of mead makers, where it's the exact same product every time. We're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this. We're going to let it do what it does and let everything stand on its own 2 feet, so to speak, stand on its own legs. Ha ha ha.
Yeah. Instead of worrying about consistency in that respect, for me, I worry more about the quality. I just want it to be good mead. That's all that matters. So.
Well, the fact that you're getting out your calipers and your micrometers and your drop indicators and everything to figure out your diameters of your lips and your folds on your can lids and rings and everything speaks to the desired quality level coming from your product. So I can certainly appreciate all the energy you put into that, my man. So we were coming up on an hour here. I'm not sure if you got to get going or anything like that. I got a couple more questions if you got a minute or two.
Yeah, sure. You go for it.
Right on, man. So Girl Scout cookies? Yes, no?
The cookies or the marijuana?
The actual cookies themselves.
Yeah, they're good. They're just expensive, and I'm a cheap ass sometimes.
I'm a cheap ass. What's your favorite Girl Scout cookie if you're going to grab one box, you cheap ass?
That's a hard. Honestly, I don't know, but maybe peanut butter.
I did.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
That?
Yeah, they got the peanut butter ones. I saw a set of Girl Scouts post up outside of the dispensaries here in Phoenix a couple different times, and I thought to myself, man, that's a mom right there who's forward thinking. She is making money hand over fist.
Yeah, I heard a lot of those stories, and yeah, I mean, should be an obvious choice as long as it doesn't bother your morals.
Are you a dog person or a cat person?
Yes.
Both?
Yeah, I mean, I always owned cats. I might say I love cats more, but I had a dog for 10 years and had a cat at the same time. Raised a cat with the 80-pound pit bull. But yeah, I love animals. Really, it doesn't. Yeah, birds sometimes maybe not as much, but yeah, but animals I love. Yeah, fuck it.
I'm not a bird person. I don't do things in cages. My kids want snakes and gerbils and rats and all that stuff. I'm like, no, I'm cool. We can enjoy those things out in Mother Nature. Let's not bring them into the house that way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, birds outside don't bother me, but caged birds can be kind of mean. Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Younger kid traumatic experiences where you can't kill the bird because it's expensive, but it'll attack you. So like. No birds.
Yeah, my grandparents had a green macaw. I don't remember what kind. He was a macaw and he was green, and that dude was an asshole. That he would like try to lure you over to the side of the cage just to get you to like try to pet him, and then he would try to bite you. Like he was manipulative and just a rotten ass. Yeah. Fuck birds.
Pretty much. Yeah.
I'm gonna take that stance. Yeah, I'm not big on birds. Where do you stand on fruit on your pizza, or specifically like pineapples? Pineapple on your pizza? You're on board with that?
Yeah, and I feel like I tried strawberries on pizza once, or I want to. So strawberry pizza, and recently I've heard about putting honey on pizza. So yeah, I love sweet stuff. I got a sugar tooth, so
Me too.
Sweet mead, semi-sweet mead, fruit, honey, chocolate. Yeah,
All of
dessert. I like chocolate pizza too, dessert pizza.
Have you ever made a chocolate mead?
I have, and I didn't like it at first. Actually, it took a while for it to age. I think a lot of people talk about that, but when I did finally reopen it, it was like one of those library ones, and like my fiance loved it. It was on the drier side too, and she was all about it. But I have 4 of them going right now as experiments. One with macadamia nut honey. One with meadow foam honey, which is like a marshmallow honey.
Yes.
Fireweed honey, which can be like buttery or sometimes smoky. Okay. And a star thistle honey, which is like a natural anise, star anise, black licorice flavor a little bit.
Yeah, licorice.
So yeah, a couple experiments going with those. Yeah.
Nice. I'm freaking dying to try some of those when next time I come up there. If you got those going, you probably always got something experimental on the tap though.
Always, yeah. There's a special menu too. If anybody comes in here and wants to try what's not on the menu, there's always something to try that's not on the menu, especially upon request. So sometimes I'll throw them in for the right people on the Taste of Rainbow. Like if you guys would have been here, you guys would have had like another 10 flavors. Like I would have you have like 30, 40 flavors I would have thrown at you probably or something. But
see, that's just more to come back in the future though. I'm dying to come back up there, man. Check out the new tasting room and all that stuff. So before I let you go and everything, is there anything you wanted to let everybody know about your meadery? Anything you wanted to say? Some words of wisdom to finish off the interview with, so to speak?
Oh, that's a tough one. I don't know, my phone and my door is always open if anybody ever has any questions. I'm still learning a lot, so I don't always have the answer. But otherwise, yeah, I love to. If anybody ever wants to bring by some samples as well, like I love tasting other people's mead, and I'll try to give you honest feedback, even if I think it's horrible. But yeah, just everybody, yeah, keep making mead, and yeah, have a great day.
Are you on Vino Shipper?
I am on Vino Shipper, but I'm only on 15 states because I didn't sign up for any more than what they give you. And I've considered not shipping out of the state of Washington, which I know can make a lot of people angry or sad.
Sad.
But again, yeah, I honestly, I feel like eventually I'll sign up for the rest of the licenses for the other states, and I'll ship to people that that reach out to me, personally or something. But I don't want to make it a regular thing. I want to stay small. I want to stay really small, and I want to sell it all locally. And I want to, like, it's like if you go to a winery in Europe, the best wine they have is going to be in town. You're not going to get that in another country or anything like that. So if you want the best, you gotta come directly to me. So
exactly.
Sorry.
Hey man, that's a wonderful reason to it. There's no reason why anybody should fault you for wanting to stick to your guns and support your craft the way that you want to do. To me, I think it's endearing, and again, it should be an envious quality that you have. Everybody else should be like, you know what, I want to do at least something and along those lines as well. Keep something local for you can make stuff for distribution and that. But always keep a little something for the local community, for the special people like that.
Yeah,
definitely.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Brandon, for being here today. Appreciate you stopping by. Everybody, check out Mr. B's Meadery on all the social medias: Facebook, Instagram. I don't do the Twitter machine, but you might.
No Twitter for me. Sorry. No.
Yeah. So Facebook, Instagram. Check him out there. Hit him up in his spot there in the industrial part of Seattle, and that new spot up in Fremont. Where are you located? Kind of like by Fremont Brewing, or?
It's underneath Rudy's Barbershop, next to Bar House and High Dive, kind of. Where the Stalin statue is, in the middle, right in the center of the universe, right in Fremont. It's
Got you. Yeah.
If you Google Mr. B's Fremont, Mr. B's Mead in Fremont, you're gonna find it. I'm the only meadery in Seattle, so hard to miss me. Yeah.
Gotcha. So scope out all those locations and everything going on there. Again, thank you, Brandon. Have a good night. Take it easy, man.
Thank you.